Plot, not cool. 2014. Written by Anonymous. A group of modern-day Pittsburgh teenagers spend their Thanksgiving break experiencing a mixture of love, friendship, partying, and sex. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over dramatically touching people's faces. Or maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. Tunnel vision to your television. And do they off this movie with audio descriptions? They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White Cane.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to Citizen White Cane, the podcast that is slowly losing all faith in humanity. My name is Sky McLeod.
I'm Melissa Bukta.
And that is the note of this podcast, most likely.
Woof. Did I pick a stinker this week? I told you it was going to be bad.
You said it was going to be bad. It's kind of like if The Room was no fun at all.
Oh my God, that's the perfect way to describe this movie. Because like The Room is terrible, but I'm having so much fun watching it. Like the first midnight screening I went and saw that at was so much fun. It was wonderful.
So fun. Whereas this is like it's all the things that The Room didn't get right, like making a plot that's somewhat coherent and all those things like that made The Room so fun. It's like it manages to kind of just skirt through and having like a plot and stuff. But
right.
And the dialogue is bad, but in the most like kind of I don't want to say mundane, but in like it's cliched, but it's not like good and it's not like brilliant enough. Like The Room is just like humans don't talk like this.
Right.
It's like I hope humans don't talk like this.
And
for the most part.
That's kind of what I thought watching this film. Is like, wow, humans don't talk like this. We are obviously. Or not, obviously, depending on what you think. We are talking about the 2014 classic, Not Cool, this week.
And like remember the movie Trainwreck?
I like that movie, yeah. Trainwreck is actually pretty good.
See,
I really enjoy it.
I thought it lived up to its name, though, a little bit.
Okay, look, it's of course, it's not perfect, but like, I hate romantic comedies. I just don't enjoy them, and that's one of the few romantic comedies I actually really like.
Well, maybe it's because you hate romantic comedies, because I find them endearing, and I did not like Trainwreck, so there is a consistency in that. But
right.
But like Trainwreck, in that you're naming your movie something that could be a negative review of a movie, and this one especially lived up to its name.
Oh my gosh, yes. And of course, I think mainly what we're probably going to end up talking about is the discourse around the movie and how it got made and the behind the scenes stuff and the drama, because that's 1,000 times more interesting than what the movie actually is. And I was expecting something truly heinous, because I've watched a lot of those videos, and yes, this movie is awful. It's not good. There is pretty much almost no redeeming qualities in this film whatsoever. Yeah. But I don't think it is as bad as people are making it out to be. I'm like, yes, it's bad. It's shit. It's awful. It's terrible. It should have never been made. But I'm like, I've seen worse.
Have I seen worse? I've seen in some ways objectively worse, but I do find this to be one of the most unpleasant things to watch, and has the least redeeming qualities in my book.
No, watching this movie is a horrible, unpleasant experience, and it's just, you forget it as soon as it's over. And
it's pretty unmemorable.
Right. I had to really, really focus up and try and pay attention, because I was watching on my computer and there were 50 million things I could have been doing or wanted to do rather than watch this movie. Yeah. And I kept, I just had the progress bar on the whole time, just so I could count down.
Oh my God.
Until it was over.
Yeah, I just paced myself. I mean, I was going and expecting it to be very dumb. It's just like, yeah. I mean, it was also like very offensive to a bunch of different people, but then at the same time, it's like wasn't committing enough that much to the offensive. Like it was just very casually offensive all the time, and it was just, but it's like in kind of a boring way that it's not like, oh, this was this. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I just found it like the worst kind of bad, where it was just not fun to watch.
Right, it's boring.
Yeah, it's
honestly
boring. It is genuinely boring.
It commits the worst movie sin. It's boring. It's just, it's very paint by numbers. You can guess the plot a mile away.
Somewhat. Though it's also kind of just like a bunch of cliches where you're just like, where are the human beings?
Right.
Like,
it just feels like a bunch of clips strung together. And I think that, you know, that you can lay that on Shane Dawson's feet, because it feels like a bunch of YouTube skits, because he's a YouTuber. And I'm definitely not saying, oh, you're a YouTuber, you can never direct anything, or you don't know anything about film. There are plenty of YouTubers I watch that could direct the shit out of something and know a lot about film.
but not Shane Dawson.
No, maybe not Shane Dawson.
This guy.
And I'm not, this is hard, because I definitely don't want to just sit here and rip on Shane Dawson for an hour, because that would be so very easy.
Yeah, well, I can do that.
Great.
I have no problem with that. He's just a very punchable human.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, but it's true. And his hair is so dumb.
His hair is awful. I think even he admits that, like, his hair is fucking awful in this
it's
movie.
Just so distractingly annoying.
It's so weird.
It makes me so mad.
It's perfect, and yet
I guess it's like Justin Bieber hair.
It sits on his head like this weird helmet.
Yeah,
and maybe it's a metaphor for like his character's need to be protected. It's like his security blanket, you know, and so he shaves it off at the end of the movie.
Guess, is
I
that
don't
his
know.
character's thing? His character was completely incoherent also.
So incoherent. The scene that gets me is like when they're in the van and they're talking about the fuck it list, and she's like, "You're so regimented," and and I'm like,
yeah, I did listen to it.
Are we watching the same character? Because no.
And she says it 3 times in that scene, apparently, which I was not counting. But
regimented, so regimented, so regimented. I'm like, oh, okay.
It is very confusing. The first time she says that in that scene, I'm like, what? Just like,
2 more times, and you'll call up like an evil entity or something.
Yeah, well, I think you already did, and it was this movie.
I did.
I think 3 is
totally
enough.
Oh God. But yeah, sorry. So you were watching. YouTube videos.
Oh yeah,
about
no,
this
there
movie.
was just that they were talking about how she says it 3 times in the movie. Or
Right.
no, sorry, not in the movie, in that one scene that he's regimented.
So quick background about this, because like I said, the background around this movie is much more interesting than the plot is.
Yeah.
Yes, we subjected ourselves to this movie because technically, yes, there is a blind character in this movie. Tori, the main character's sister, Marissa, is blind.
Yes.
And there's just so much to unpack, and yet not a lot.
Yeah, it's
very light
scenes.
suitcase.
Yeah, exactly. It's a light suitcase filled with like candy wrappers that all have to go in different drawers.
Right. And they're all crappy
like
candy.
different rooms. Yeah. No, I don't know.
Yeah. So this whole thing started with a reality show on the Starz network called The Chair. And the whole deal about the show is they're taking 2 filmmakers, Shane Dawson and A.M. Lucas, which she doesn't use that name in the show, but I believe she's married now, and this is what she goes by. So
right, she's like a NYU school of film graduate.
She's has been like through rigorous film training and everything. And then there's Shane, which is he's a YouTube person. A very, 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 very popular YouTube person.
And a little dick.
And a bit of a dick. A huge dick.
Yeah.
A problematic dick.
Yes, in many ways. But yeah, so that's the 2 of them the show are like...
Right. And the show chronicles the making of these 2 films. They are given the same script, which I didn't know starting out this whole process. They're given the same script, Holidaysburg. But Shane doesn't want to direct that movie.
I thought they both gave notes. I don't actually know how much she gave notes, but I think they were supposed to both give notes.
Yeah, I think she added in a couple of other like character tweaks or whatever. But honestly, from what I've watched and seen, she didn't really change it all that much.
Okay,
she worked with what she was given in the parameters that she could.
How sad that she did that. when he did that and it was such a disaster. You could do something more interesting. It would have been even more interesting if she had like put it in a more interesting direction than he did. But anyway.
Well, the movie, I mean, the movie she made doesn't look bad. Doesn't look half bad.
I thought we should watch it, but it doesn't have a blind character.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But Shane wanted to do a raunchy comedy. So the script was pretty much completely overhauled. The major plot skeletal structure is the same.
Which is what's so annoying about it, is that the plot is somewhat coherent. Like, I wish he had just written it, because then at least it would be so incoherent that it would be funny. But it's like, it has the bones
of a plot.
Right. And then it's just like, what's built on it is utter shit. Like, it's so bad. But it's just like, it makes it less fun than if the whole foundation was coming apart, which would be more interesting to me, at least.
Yeah. And basically, so we have our two movies, Hollidaysburg and Not Cool, and the show chronicles the making of both. Fun fact, this is probably one of my favorite facts, Zachary Quinto produced the reality show, the whole thing, but after seeing Not Cool,
took his
name off it because it's absolutely abysmal.
Yeah, it's really, really bad.
And I understand.
Yeah, I was like, I would take my name off that too.
Yep, you go, Zachary Quinto.
You can just tell
you can do better.
It's interesting for the clips for the show I've seen. It just seems like everyone who was involved in Not Cool did not want their name on it in the end, or was trying hard to like they had like this whole, I know, big part of the show is they couldn't get actors, because actors, even like not even union actors, were just like, no, I don't want to be part of this. This is so bad.
And there's just scene upon scene of the writers and the producer, this poor producer that had to work with him, and she's begging him, and they're begging him, like, please, she was a trooper, like, please change the script. No one is auditioning because nobody wants to eat shit on camera and wave their dick around. Yeah, nobody wants to do that. It's so offensive. And he's freaking out because he's like, well, these people should just be so happy that they have a chance to be in a movie in the first place. And I'm like, you are in Pittsburgh, my guy, not LA. There's not a stream of 50 actors waiting outside who want to work and don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not saying that's every actor's mentality. People should be allowed to choose and be choosy about the projects that they do. But you have college professors and stay-at-home moms and who are just kind of, and university students who are showing up because, this could be fun. Yeah. And yet you're complaining.
He just seems like a childish baby, and that's very redundant, but he was just a fucking child the entire time.
He was what, 19?
I
think 19 or 20, I think, when he did this.
Wasn't this 2014? And he's like 30 now, so he had to be he was like, I think, like 25.
Yeah, but the show didn't come out in 2014.
The movie came out in 2014.
Right. I can't remember when.
I think he was like 24 though.
All right.
I think I heard that in one of the
recap
things.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it was so he was like 24. No, not an excuse.
No, not an excuse. No.
But he's just like, it's just having gone to film school, I was like, you are just the scum of the scum. Like, it's just, there's so many white dudes who are just fucking annoying in film school. And, some of the white dudes are nice. So if you went to film school with me, I'm not necessarily talking about you, just to put it out there. But, there are some, but he is like worse than everyone I ever went to film school with. He's like the worst of the worst.
And he wants to make this horrible raunchy comedy, and he doesn't fundamentally doesn't understand why films like Superbad or Knocked Up to some extent, or Funny People or whatever, why those work.
Yeah, he doesn't understand humor.
Sorry, The 40-Year-Old Virgin is another one I was trying to think of. Yeah, but he doesn't understand, like, he gets, oh yeah, it's gross and they say dick a lot and da-da-da-da, but those movies have heart. They have characters that you actually are rooting for. They have, forget the heart. They have characters, actual people. I don't blame any of the actors who were involved in this. I blame the script. I
know. I felt so bad for all of every actor. I felt just sad. I was like, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry you're in this. Oh God, the directing gets so bad. Like the way everyone, he like has so many people just overacting so much.
Right. Like everybody delivers their lines like this. Yeah. Like the parents drive me insane.
Horrible.
Which is so sad because I'm sure they're really nice people outside of like in life or whatever, but like
because of it,
the
their
performances are just
terrible.
not great. Yeah.
There's a lot of just, I mean, some of the performances are people who are like, okay, I think they're trying their, their best with a terrible script.
I would give a gold star to the actors playing Tori, Janie, and Joel, because at least I could watch them. Tori, she's got to carry most of the movie. She's technically her and Scott are technically the leads, and I don't think she balances a really great line of a character who's really flat and sardonic, but not lovable. Like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the character of Kim Pine. She's sarcastic. She's rather sardonic. She's kind of got a mean streak to her, but you love that character.
She's like a person. She's
like a person. I think that's Alison Pill's great performance, but also, she's just not. She's nice, I guess, is not even the word I want to use, because Kim isn't
like a real person.
She's even though she's like not the main, she's definitely not a main character in that movie, but she's got heart. Her character has a personality and has an arc and a through line, and
she's a main character in the books.
Funny. She is a main character in the books, yeah. And she's great in the books too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that her the character of oh gosh, Tori. I just Tori Amos. This is what my mnemonic was that I couldn't think of. But the character of Tori is just kind of like not. I mean, I want to say not a real person, but also like not a real person. She is like, she's supposed to be like sarcastic and like, I hate the world, but then she's also supposed to be like bullied, and so she's like, and she's still like sad about how she was bullied, and then I guess she's also supposed to be like the cool girl that's like, fuck it, I'm a badass. Like it's just like the most, but it's all like the most cliche, dumbest ideas.
But she's what I have a problem with is she's just mean.
Yeah, she is also so weirdly mean. Like when you get windows into her character, they're just mean. Like they're not like, it's not like, oh, you understand she has a facade because of some reason, or like any sort of motivations. It's just like, oh, you're just like mean.
No, you're just mean. I mean, she's just, and the things when she meets her parents, and her sister at the train station, and just the things she says, like, oh yeah, I wish the train would have crashed and I would have killed myself, and I guess I took a train to hell, and I'm like, this is not real life. I mean, granted, it's a movie, but like if I were to come off of a train and utter those things to anyone I was meeting,
that's just
there would be a reaction. We just gloss over the whole thing. She says all these mean, awful things. She tells people to kill themselves, and there's no reaction.
Yeah, and she's like one of the nicer characters in the movie.
Yeah, actually. Yes.
It's so bad.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I wish I could root for you, but you're written so awfully. I can't.
You can't. Yeah, it's very hard to root for almost all the characters. They're like, every character does stuff where you're like, what? Like at some point, and so few of them have any sort of human things that they do at all. Like they're just like so inconsistent.
So let's get Marissa out of the way.
Yes.
So she is our blind character. She's Tori's sister, and she's very happy that Tori's coming home for Thanksgiving because she's gotten engaged. And there's going to be an engagement party.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Yeah.
And the boyfriend, or I mean the fiance, Gil, is supposed to be terrible, but then he's like, he doesn't have a single line in the movie. Like he's like
one or two, but no.
He's like not at all. He's not.
He's just kind of like creepy mustache guy.
Yeah, I mean, but he has a mustache, which is not.
Yeah, he has a mustache.
I kind of found endearing. So I was like, wait, why does everyone hate him? Like he literally hasn't said anything. I kind of thought he was like endearing as an actor,
right?
And then he just doesn't do anything.
He only shows Marissa love throughout the entire movie.
There's just like nothing, and he does so little. I think he really does have like maybe a line or two, and so you just have no concept of who this is, and they're like, wow, he's terrible. And then it's like, oh, we're so happy they're engaged, but then later on she's like, I hate him. That actually Marissa says this, I hate him, to Tori, which is just like, what? Where's any of this coming from? Like,
oh, right, because she says, I'm not really blind. I'm just in a constant state of blind drunkenness.
Yeah. blackout drunkenness.
Blackout drunkenness that I'm just like,
which is like
what?
Not at all. That truly makes no sense.
The joke is blind drunk. The punchline of that joke should be, I'm pretending. I've always been pretending my whole life. I'm really just blind drunk.
But that doesn't make any sense, because all blind people know who've like ever tasted a sip of alcohol know that there's no comparison. Like,
no, but it's a joke because she's actually blind, and it's
would
a joke.
You ever make
joke.
that joke
Yes,
as a blind person?
Yes, I've made that joke countless times with my friends.
That
I'm blind drunk
when you're drunk.
Yes.
But you wouldn't say I'm not actually blind, I'm just always blind drunk. Would you say that?
I've never said those words in that order.
But would that joke ever occur to you to be made?
I guess not. I mean, the joke with my friends was when I graduated conservatory or acting college or whatever you want to call it, I was going to throw my cane across the stage and be like, guess what, you fools? I've been faking it the entire time. This is my acting experiment. Like, that was our personal joke.
Right. Yeah, I guess I did steer very clear of all the I'm faking it, because I'm like, that was 10 years of my life I'm never getting back, so fuck you.
And when I've gone to parties, the blind drunk joke has been made. Well,
it's like when people are like, oh, have you ever been on a blind date? All my dates are blind dates. It's like that kind of joke. But you would make that I think that joke is fine. It's just it's just the amount of cognitive energy that has to go to like imagining that she was like she's faking it, and that she was always like, it doesn't make any sense.
I was more angry that the joke was written terribly and executed poorly, because it could have been, could have gotten at least a chuckle out of me, but it didn't. So I found that more offensive, that they just didn't land the joke correctly.
That's funny. No, I was just like, this makes no sense to me. Like, you could think of a better blind joke than that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's true. I'm not a big fan of the whole, I was faking the whole time. It's like, but that's sort of like a weird trauma response.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would joke with my friend who had people tell her that she didn't have cancer in the past, and we would joke about like, yeah, we're always faking it. We're like, that's what people do. We just fucking fake it, like, because we've both been through the same trauma. But like, but it is one of those things where I'm like, this, which I don't know, maybe it is probably for any blind person that didn't go through that is probably easier than it is for me. But yeah,
my joke comes from a place of I've been performing all the time in college. The whole way through.
Right, like as a performance.
Right. So, all of our, me and all my acting buddies are going to get together and make jokes and blah, 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 blah. And that's where it started.
Yeah, I think there would be jokes I make with friends when I was in high school that were close to that area of things. So I get that. Yeah. I mean, I think that at least is more playing off of something, whereas she just kind of introduces the entire idea. It really just sounds like a sighted person trying to make an offensive joke about blindness, and like the fact that a blind character is saying it is like, no. Like it really bothered me. So I'm like, that is not a good joke. Like, at least you're the joke about you being like, I was faking the whole time, I'm a great actor, like that actually has some sort of context and consistency, and like is a joke, like it has more of a joke than that. The blackout drunk, I don't even think she says blind drunk at all. I think she says blackout drunk, which is like,
I'm pretty sure it's blind drunk, but I could be wrong, because in my head, blind drunk is what I want to hear, because that, in my head, that's the joke and the punchline that makes sense to me.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. No, now I'm like so curious. I feel like
God, I know. I want to know now.
Okay,
I truly want to know what she said.
I was like, should we play clips?
We should just play it. We should play that clip.
That's too bad, because I don't like him.
Yes, you are full of shit.
Okay, fine. I like him, but you know what? It's complicated. He's complicated. Actually, you know what? He's simple. He's far too simple and so scared of everything. I mean, I was so close to fixing him. He was so fucking close to being...
Just like you?
With a penis!
He's not your project, Tori. You can't force him to be something he isn't. You just have to accept him for who he is.
My God, how do you accept Gil?
I drink a lot. I'm actually not even blind. I'm just in a constant state of blackout drunkenness.
Yeah, you were right.
Yes,
Okay.
I knew it because it makes literally no sense.
1 point Sky. Okay, good.
Yes.
See, I was already trying to rewrite the joke in my head. Yeah.
I mean, it's a punch up yours, but I still do not like any part of it. But
Sure.
yours is still a slight punch up from the actual thing that's in the movie. And again, poor fucking Gil. We have no context for him being terrible. He seems perfectly fine.
Right.
Gil's my favorite character.
he says nothing, shows love and affection
Yeah,
to
he's just like-
Marissa, and
He's
just
like,
Gil.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, I like this guy. He seems very unoffensive, sweet, and loves this very, like, seems competent,
outgoing,
blind
competent.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
mean,
was like,
let's
fuck yeah.
let's very quickly run down the checklist. So of behaviors. So we have flat out not looking in any direction when she's speaking, except for that scene on the bed when she's speaking to anyone. She's just looking off in the distance and not even turning. Like her body isn't even turned to like the person that she's talking to. Touchy feely all the time.
Face touching is, I would say, about 90% of the time she's on
Yes,
screen, face touching
what
is
she's doing.
actively happening.
Yep.
It is, as many blind people have some vision, is the percentage of time. Same percentage.
Yeah. So we got the face touching. Oh, the whole like, do you see it? Do you see it? When she holds her ring out to Tori or anything, like puts it like right up in front of her face, like no, because blind people don't have any boundaries.
Right.
And we don't
She's
respect
just,
people's
like,
boundaries.
and that she touches people's face. So there's a bunch of people sitting who are completely silent, and it's like, you are at a blind person's party, because later on it's like her engagement party, and her relatives are just sitting there saying nothing to the person whose party it is, who is blind. So like any normal human being on earth would be like, congratulations, hi, it's me, like say something, but they don't. They say completely quiet, and then she goes up to each one of them and like puts her hand on their face,
Right,
dramatically, and then is like, oh, I know who this is, which is like, of course, no, of course that's wrong.
That, and just like the fact that a blind person or disabled person needs to be paraded around the room to people. I've had to go through a lot of that in my life, so that personally is very offensive to me.
It was
I
that
hate it.
scene was like offensive on so I thought that instantly, but then I thought that at the very beginning, but then it was instantly, I was like, oh, face touching, this is horrible. Like it was just like cascading effect of like, oh, this is bad.
Her parents constantly refer to, and the people around her constantly refer to her as an inspiration,
which like could be a joke on that, but it's just
but
like,
I don't think the movie is smart enough.
Do that.
Considering what she gets to do and how she's involved in the story, this movie's not smart enough to be making like a meta commentary on the fact that that's a horrible thing to say to a disabled person.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, like, yeah, it's just the fact that this movie it's not serious in any way, but it's also none of it's funny. It's just all trying to be a joke,
right,
and failing. So I guess that you could say, well, it's trying to be a joke that she's inspirational, but it's, again, no.
She doesn't use a cane or
she does. We first seen that she has a cane.
Oh, really?
We meet her instantly the first moment she's on screen. She has a cane. They have the sign being like, Tori, welcome home. And she's just like slamming it back and forth, and they're standing still on like a little platform. She's not walking or doing anything. She's just like wildly like going back and forth, like in the middle of the shot.
So she's not so not even.
Do you want to see? I mean, I don't know how audio it is.
I texted you on my new phone. Look at my sign.
Want to switch lives?
Okay, thank you for showing me that. I think I'm just, like I said, this movie is just leaving my brain at rapid rates. You are correct. She has a cane, and she uses it the complete awful wrong improper way.
Yeah, I have a mobility trainer right now. My mobility trainer, we were joking about this, we were watching another video that involves Shane Dawson, but she would murder me in the streets if I were to do that. Shoot me.
Well, it reminds me of Helicopter Cane.
The story you told.
Yes, about Helicopter Cane.
Yep. It is like that, but apparently that's just how a blind person would use a cane when standing still.
And it's so funny because the cane is constantly moving, and yet her eyes don't.
Right. She's also not moving. None of her is moving other than
No,
the cane.
yeah, just the cane. Well, in any scene that she's in, and her eyes, she's got this wide open, like everything about her face is so open.
It is, yeah.
Her mouth is open all the time. Her eyes are open all the time. I mean, just like everything is so big.
Blind
and
people
huge.
are not that open. We're very close to. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah, I get excited and sure, I
But
might.
she's just
you
like
know,
very bubbly in a way that you just would never. It's not like I just like from knowing blind people, we're a lot more kind of like cool and hardened than she is.
I
She's like just
mean,
bubbly in a certain kind of way.
I can definitely be on her level. I
Of
have
bubbliness?
Oh yeah, I have definitely been on her level a few times of bubbliness. Absolutely.
but
It's,
not,
you
I
know,
don't
I've had a
associate
few,
you
but-
with it. But you are
Sure.
hardened by life in a way that she does
Sure.
not seem to be.
Sure, but I don't want to say like all blind people are X, Y, and Z because we don't know.
I mean, yeah, but also
sure.
no.
All right, yeah, I get it.
I mean, it's just that she is seen as, it's kind of like the weird trope of like, it did actually in a weird way remind me of my blind brother, of just being like, this character
Yeah.
has not had any limits put on that. Like, it's the stupidest blind metaphor, because you're just kind of like, well, no, blind people have so many limits put
Mm-hmm.
on us, and it's like, so many of them are completely not fair, but like, we are not free people to do whatever we want. That is not the case.
And I think her personality and movements and everything are so exaggerated because she has to
Be in this
be
movie?
the opposite. Yeah, but be the opposite of Tori.
yeah.
I mean, if you even the way they have them dressed, like Tori is black and brown and earthy tones, and she's yellow.
Right,
She's
they're
in
supposed to
bright
be the
colors.
opposites. But it's
Yeah.
like, is the blindness part of that? Like, that was the part that I thought was so confusing.
Well, because then you have to ask, the question, well, why is this character blind? Like, you
Yeah.
made a choice to have this character be blind. Is
Right.
it? And part of it maybe was because, oh, there's all these really awful, raunchy, offensive jokes we could do, and isn't it just so offensive and funny that we're making fun of a blind person?
Right. Which is like maybe the reason, because I can't really think of any better reason to like explain why there is a blind
Or
character.
just another way to punch down on Tori, like you freaking suck. You know, you're
Yeah.
sardonic and you're awful and you're mean and everything, and you know your sister is just the absolute best, and she's blind, and she's
Right,
overcome all like she's
Right,
overcome
right.
her blindness to be the absolute best version of herself, and you're a fuckwad.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
who's
I
in the
think that
corner.
is like what it's like what it is supposed to be, that it's like even a blind person would be happy,
Right,
which is
right.
which is very fucked up.
Oh,
Like,
extremely
that's
so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're
yeah.
right. Yeah, that like that even, you know, someone who had this terrible thing happen to them, that they're blind.
But she's positive and optimistic, and she just is a go-getter.
Yeah.
And she's never sad.
Which is the never sad thing is, well, technically not true of any
Technically
human
not.
being.
Right. Which makes it all the more kind of sad and disingenuous because Tori and her have a really nice, but they have like an actual scene together.
Right,
You know,
and the scene we played.
Right, and that's the scene. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the scene we played. And she all of a sudden for like 15 seconds is a real person, and then she has to boop make a stupid joke and goes back to
And then
a caricature.
I feel like that's the last moment we see her.
yeah.
I
You
even
don't
think
you
she's
don't
in the
see her.
movie
No,
after
you
that.
don't see her for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, so her last line is the joke that is bad on many levels, but even is not worded to involve a very low hanging fruit that
Right.
they didn't even.
Well, and we see they're at Thanksgiving together, and her and Gil everyone is having a conversation, and her and Gil share a kiss, and this moment stood out to me personally because yes, it's played for laughs and it's played to be gross and weird and everything, but as a disabled person watching that, all I can think is, oh, so it's gross and weird to watch a disabled person receive affection and love
it
from
did
someone,
feel
because
like
who
that
would
a
ever
lot.
want to do that?
Yeah, it made that part was maybe very furious. Like,
Yeah, and like maybe I would think differently if the character wasn't blind, but it's so infuriating.
No, I think you're 100% right on that too. I think that like it's supposed to be like, oh wow, isn't this funny that and weird and gross out humor that a blind person would have somebody love them and they would make out. Like, wow, so gross to think about. Like, it did have that vibe, even if it's like no one would say that was it. It does make it like you're like, well, it seems like they're just kissing. Like, oh,
Right.
It's not
I mean,
other characters kiss. It's
Sure.
not meant to be
Everybody
gross.
in this movie, everybody is kissing and fucking and doing all kinds of gross
it's never
stuff.
like a weird. It's never
And it's-
read in the same like, oh, this is gross kind of way that kiss is. That you're like, okay, this seems like it would be kind of. It's like when you have an two older people kissing. It's like, ew, that's so gross. It felt very similar to that of like
Right.
these people. It's gross that they would have love and kiss and stuff.
And yeah, okay, the way they kiss is weird and funny, and I mean,
Well,
funny,
also in
strange,
that moment,
not funny, haha. But
I feel like that scene really confused me because doesn't Gil like reach out for her, and I'm like, you're not the blind character. Like, for a second in that scene, I was like, wait, is Gil also supposed to be blind?
I know, right? Because they're literally trying to find each other's
Yeah.
faces, and I'm like, what? Okay,
And then it's like, and then he seems to be able to see for the rest of the movie. Like, it's so confusing.
Gil can see. I'm pretty sure Gil's
but
sighted.
he has no lines in the movie, so you're like, I have no idea who this person is.
Well, oh god, and then of course we cut to they're playing a game after dinner called Dance Central, and the whole joke, like her and Gil are dancing, and of course she can't see any of the moves that are happening because she's blind and da 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 da. But
she still does a good job.
She's so good, and she's overcoming, and she's such an inspiration and blah.
Well,
blah,
because
blah,
she
blah, blah.
wins. Well, a lot of the jokes are that, oh, look, she's so good that she could do stuff that sighted people can do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because she could play that game and she wins. And then, which is like, also, I don't understand how the game works. And it seems like I couldn't play that. So I don't understand how she can.
Rhythm games are very hard. You have to do.
Oh, I love rhythm games. But it's more of a Dance Revolution game, which is not rhythm as much.
You're right. No, games like that are very much like move your body in this certain pose at the certain time.
Right.
Well,
which
if you can't tell, and you're supposed to watch the little characters on the
Right,
screen,
right, you
and if you can't
can't.
see that,
Yeah, you can't, like, that's why I could never play Dance Revolution. I couldn't see well enough to, like, know what was actually, like, you're supposed to do. So that, I was just like, what? That makes no sense. And then at one point, she's, like, at the dinner table where it's like, wow, she's the perfect kid. She's like, I learned to drive, and I painted this extremely elaborate picture of a city like skyscrapers and stuff, and it's like, what? Like, why? I don't understand. This is the best you could think of. Like,
I mean,
it doesn't
the
make any
painting,
sense.
the painting kind of made me chuckle just a little bit, and not, because like I'm lizard brain, and I love juxtaposition. I think is some of my favorite type of humor. So the driving, whatever, everyone's made that fucking joke, but like the painting, I was just kind of like, oh.
I mean, but what made it funny? Just that
it's like, we're saying that she has absolutely no vision. I'm assuming it's never stated, but she's blind. So blind equals no vision, which is not true, but in
all movies,
blind equals no vision.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like the fact that she's got no vision at all, and then there's this horrifically detailed painting of a cityscape.
Yeah.
I can't explain to you.
Okay.
It's lizard brain. I don't know. I think it's it made me chuckle, just like, oh wow, like she's but she still did it, and I don't want to be like, because she could never,
But it's just like, why wouldn't a blind person have cooler things to paint than that?
Sure.
I just found it it's like the most boring sighted person bullshit. I was like,
Right.
You're blind. You could do a lot more interesting work.
Right,
than
like
that.
why not an abstract painting
Yeah,
or color theory or a tactile art, or something that would make sense for a blind character to do,
or just like, something that would be good and like cool to look at. Like, it just seemed kind of like an especially boring painting to me. So I was just like, why would you waste talent? If you're a blind painter, you could be doing so much more interesting stuff than that.
Right. I think it was more of like a what the fuck chuckle than an actual like I think this joke is funny.
I guess it's like the idea
I
that
still kind of think it's funny though.
A blind person painting to me is not weird.
No.
And I think that part of the joke that you're supposed, like, for me, I was like, is this funny because she painted something?
It's funny because she can't do it.
Yeah.
It's funny because in the movie's eyes, this is something that this character could not in a million years do. Drive a car, paint a crazy detailed painting of a skyscraper. have a loving husband. Like, these are just
Yeah.
things. These are just things that this character.
It's funny how the husband isn't the main thing that they're like, ha ha.
Right,
blind
exactly.
person gonna do this. We're gonna keep reminding you that, ha ha ha, a blind person engaged. What a ridiculous idea. How could it ever happen? And how did they give her a license? They literally, the DMV, they tell you to look at it. Like, they give you an eye chart.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I've tried to pass the vision test, failed.
You can't
Of course,
do, like,
'cause I can't.
Yeah, and it's just, what?
It's funny because it's like, oh, look at how offensive we're being.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
that's,
in
I
their
guess, the
eyes,
closest, yeah.
like, it's funny because we're so raunchy and offensive, and nobody is safe. You know, we'll make fun of everybody, but I'm like, you're not
Right.
even doing it in a clever way.
Yeah, it's like making rape jokes. It's like, this just aren't even funny.
There's an entire rape scene
There's
in
a
this
lot of
movie,
stupid
and
rape
it's played
bullshit.
for laughs.
Yeah, it's really not good.
Scott's character was just raped and traumatized by his ex-girlfriend, and he comes out and Tori's pissed off, you know, oh, you're having sex without me and you're cheating on me, and he's like, I was raped,
Yeah,
and
it's,
her
like,
response
terrible.
is, oh, she's 95 pounds, Scott, get over yourself. And I'm like,
Ew.
no,
You could definitely.
he was sexually assaulted at that
Yeah.
party.
And, like, that's really fucked
That's
up.
not a joke.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really not a joke. Also, like, the weights of this movie made me furious. I wanted to throw my TV. I was so mad. There was just so much bullshit, like fat phobia, and this fucking
that
asshole
poor fat girl.
It made me so mad. And also learning more about him is like he has so much fucking thin privilege, and this fucking like Shane Dawson is like always like, oh, I'm so fat.
Oh, I know. He's
It's like,
so.
fuck
I'm like,
you.
you are not fat.
like-
I am fat.
And it's
You
fucking
are
offensive.
not.
Like, you don't have to deal with fucking fat phobia, so shut the fuck up.
Right. Like, I understand body insecurity. Everybody's insecure about something, about their bodies or whatever. Oh, that's a sweeping generalization. I'm sorry. I understand body insecurity. There are people who are insecure about different parts of themselves. Yes.
Yeah.
I get that. I am. Sure. Absolutely. I'm working to get over that. But, like, it's a journey, but it's all the fucking time with him. And I'm just like,
and it's just like
stop.
so much like
Please
acting
stop.
like thin privilege is not acknowledging it as a fucked up thing that shouldn't exist, but like saying, well, it's good, it's always good to be thin. Also, thin people can't be rapists apparently somehow. Like, that makes any sense.
But you can always fend them off because they're like 93 pounds.
Yeah,
Just like,
I guess
kick her in the
that
face. I don't fucking know.
it's fucking it's terrible. It's so bad. Yeah, I mean, definitely don't see this movie.
No.
Like, I feel bad that we both had to rent it, and please,
Yeah, I'm so sorry that we need to pay for this.
I know, but it's okay. We know what we do for this podcast, as long as we can make sure that everyone listening never, like,
Please don't watch this movie. If you want to watch something, there's a YouTuber called D'Angelo Wallace. That's the first video I sent you. Watch his video about Shane Dawson if you want to know more about Shane Dawson. Watch, I really like this guy who does clip breakdowns. And he actually did 2 really excellent videos on Not Cool. He did one that's just a straight up review of it.
I watched that one, yeah.
That's good. And then he also does
the chair.
He compares, he does one on the chair, and then he compares Not Cool and Holidaysburg.
Oh yeah, that was the one I didn't watch.
That's really interesting.
I
It's
should've
really
watched
interesting. It's okay, but if you ever get around to it, it's really good.
The problem with this movie is it was a terrible movie, very hard to watch, and then we watched a lot of YouTube content on top of it. So, which I think is good to talk about it, but it just means we've been living in this movie, and it's funny because all the videos we watch, people were like, "I hate that I had to live in this world," and I was like, "I feel your pain."
It sucks. It sucks. So on the almost the opposite side of the spectrum, we watched, I showed you a video about Molly Burke and Shane Dawson basically being blind for a day, essentially. Just because we needed some good blind representation. Yes, we should play the end of it.
That was crazy. Blindness has been one of my biggest fears my entire life. And I've always wanted to talk to a blind person about it, but I was afraid to because I didn't want to offend them. And not only did she talk about it with me, she changed my perception of everything. And the fact that she has a sense of humor about it and she loves to joke about it really connected with me, because that's how I feel about my issues and my problems. And just seeing her family and how her mom wants her daughter to take risks and not care about being blind. I mean, her mom was cheering her on while she was driving a car, which is so dangerous and so illegal. But she was just excited to see her daughter living her life and not letting her blindness get in the way.
Okay.
So I did send you another video. It's a 2-minute compilation of Molly Burke subtly dragging Shane Dawson for 2 minutes.
Okay.
So that's in your it's in your text.
Should we
now.
play that instead? Just cut out the whole clip?
It's up to you. I mean, I don't think that's a bad clip.
Okay. Well, we'll put some of it at the end then.
There you go. Perfect.
But yeah.
I mean, look. I'm going to start with this. I don't think it's wrong for Shane, for a sighted person, an able-bodied person, to want to learn about disability.
Yeah, learning about disability is fine. I mean,
Sure.
and also should come, like, it's fucked up that we don't have, part of our culture isn't teaching people, like, just basic ass shit about people's existence.
Sure.
Like, I think part of ableism grows, I think, because we just don't, children are never taught just, like, pretty basic etiquette things of, like, how to think about disability. And, like, instead you just get all this bullshit because people are just so uneducated, if that makes sense. So I think teaching is great. I mean, like, but I also don't think it should be up to blind people to do that. Like, it shouldn't be our responsibility for other people to learn that we are humans and deserve humanity.
And, right. And sometimes it can be interesting or different, or dare I say fun. I don't think he had any fun, but to use devices that alter your vision, to try and walk half a mile in a blind person's shoes.
Right, which is the most of the video.
Right, is what they do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it. I think it's a little silly. Like, I mean, I guess if people are curious, whatever, it's like, it's not something, I guess, I don't know. I don't have a lot of strong opinions one way or the other about it, to be perfectly honest. Like, I'm not like, fuck that shit, but I also am not that excited by the idea of sighted people doing that. Because I think it's just like, they kind of, in the video, it's like, it's all about their freaking out.
Right. It's mostly Shane and them having panic attacks. And mostly Shane.
And they don't have to spend 2 days a week like I am going to have to for God knows how long fucking actually being taught how to walk, which is what I'm currently going through. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, you have to do this for a fucking afternoon.
And I've had conversations. I've had those exact conversations with people, oh my God, this just must be so exhausting. And how do you do this? And da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, for me, it's normal. This is just this is life. This is just my everyday experience.
Right.
And I don't know any different. And I don't want to know any different. I've had the whole if there was a cure for blindness tomorrow, would you take it question.
Yeah, I love how every time we get a real blind person that we talk about on the podcast, the answer is always no.
1,000% no. And I love Molly's answer. She's like, I'm not going to spend my time sitting waiting around for a cure. I'm going to go and live.
Yeah, and also, it was definitely a very LA thing. I feel like I did that hedging of like, I'm not going to waste my time finding a cure. But now I'm like, I don't fucking want there to be a cure ever, because I don't want anyone to ever ask me that question ever again. And if there's if they could fucking change my eyes, then I would get that question way more often.
Well, so what I'm interested in is the Molly Burke Shane videos. There's multiples of them. There's a whole series that they did together. And I've watched most of them. But what I'm interested in, those videos are only a couple of years old.
Wow.
So what I'm wondering is, I don't necessarily know if I want an apology either. He's done a lot of apologizing, but what I truly want to know is how and is his perspective on blindness and blind people changed? And if given the situation with Not Cool, would he have made more of an effort to flesh out Marissa's character, or just not write her like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he seems like someone who's very who cares like way more than's healthy about the way he's being perceived, but not in like a even in that much of like, it's not even in a lovable way at all. It's in like the worst possible way. Like, because some people, you know, stress out about that, but they're overall good people, you know what I mean? But then there's like,
Right.
he's the like a bad person that doesn't want to come off as a bad person, you know, like, which is the most toxic of that, like that he just is he's just mean and terrible and like has a lot of privilege and fucking doesn't give a fuck that he does, and is really just does very offensive things, and then gets butthurt about when people call him out on it. And like I don't have a lot of sympathy, but I think he would probably, I mean, I think when people have shown themselves to someone so aggressively trying to rewrite history, I don't trust it. Their apologies have to actually come in actions, and I don't give a fuck about what they say. I care about what they do for you know, decades after that. Like, that's the only thing that I think could show anything, and it doesn't seem, I mean, I get the sense he's probably just going to disappear because, I don't know. I have no idea, actually.
I don't know. No, that's a really interesting thought. You know, could all this stuff that he's done in the past, which is so funny because you can't even say, oh, all this stuff is creeping out of the closet, because it's not. It
like
was
on
easily
YouTube.
accessible to people on YouTube.
Right, that's what's so weird.
I can't say I watched. I'm not very familiar with his comedy sketches and stuff, but you know, when I was in high school, middle school, I don't know, but watching funny YouTube videos, I remember watching a couple of his videos, like when he was younger.
Were they the blackface ones?
No.
Okay, good.
No. But I remember like sketches, and you know, I thought he was funny because like he did all these funny voices and whatever. But I was young and stupid, so you know.
Yeah, I was lucky in that his brand of humor as well is something I never found funny. So
No,
the fact
yeah.
is also offensive. I mean, I guess some of his stuff is offensive, but he has this certain kind of over the top thing that I just from being a little kid, I was like, I fucking hate this
It's
shit.
exhausting. It's exhausting. It's like you don't have to be at 110 all of the time.
And,
there's
like-
peaks and valleys, pal.
Yeah, and just so much of it is just to be like truly offensive in such an self-aware way. It's just, yeah, no, the watching all those videos where they compile the blackface that he does, and like, I mean, it's just looking at before I saw any of that, I was just like watching Not Cool. I was like, this is 2014. There are so many things in this movie that I was alive in 2014 and very aware of what was considered socially acceptable. None of this stuff was considered, like, we all knew this was wrong. Like,
Right.
You cannot plead ignorance.
Well, and when so at the end of the chair, both movies get screened in theaters for people to come and pay and watch and whatever. And Hollidaysburg's crowds were rather mellow. That the theaters weren't packed
right,
or
'cause
were whatever.
she was a graduate. She's a women director,
Right,
so
and
she's
so-
not, no one knows who she is, of
which
course.
is sad.
Yeah.
But two things. Shane's performance movies were packed because he was there, because people
Right.
wanted to be there, wanted to see him. On the nights that he wasn't there,
No one showed up.
no one showed up.
Yeah.
So that speaks, people were showing up for him, not because of the movie. People could give two shits about the movie.
It was terrible.
I just don't think I can ever find a single person who likes, legitimately, who thought this was funny.
I mean, I don't even think Shane Dawson thought it was funny. Did he? I can't
I don't
even
know.
imagine.
I don't know. I really want to know. I really want.
I think
like,
one of the videos said he apologized for it at one point. It was just like, okay,
well, good.
I guess. I mean, like, you shouldn't have made it.
Fantastic.
You should have
No.
known you were gonna have to apologize in 2014. You could just not done it at all.
Sure, absolutely. And and maybe that's just the circumstances of the reality show. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's coming from YouTube and then all of a sudden having all of this power and all these decisions that you have to make, and you don't have any fucking experience.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but also like he from the clips of The Chair just seemed like a piece of shit. Like, he was just being a piece of shit at every single clip that was played, like, in the YouTube video that I think we both watched about it was just him being an asshole to everyone, and like being truly like just a terrible person to be around, like someone that you like I've had to deal with people like that in my life, they were traumatic experiences that like just totally ruin your life for a period of time, like until you can be free of that person.
Right. And the clips in that video that made me chuckle is when the costumers are talking with the other filmmaker, and they're talking about like, oh my God, thank God we got your project. Thank God, because we saw the other script and there's just no way, but we got your project. We're working with you.
For A.M. Lucas.
Yes.
Yeah, her project. Yeah. It's so... Oh God! And then he just didn't listen to feedback, and then there was some.
Oh my God! He had so many chances. There were notes, script notes. There was writing feedback from the actual writers, from the producers, from the fucking test audiences.
And he ignored all of it.
Yep.
And then was mad at everyone in the end because the movie sucked,
right.
and no one told him it sucked, and everyone was like, "We told you it sucked, like we told you that."
Right, and like and you know and. With how A.M. Lucas received the feedback, you know, she was there at all the feedback screenings. She was taking notes. Yes, it was upsetting to hear that things weren't clicking with people. But those are things that she's like, okay, I'll change. I'll go back and, you know.
I had a lot of flashbacks to film school and just like how, especially like there is somewhat of a gender divide. Like it's not 100% consistent. And obviously this is just male and female, but more women identify people were like able to hear feedback than male identifying, even though some people, did not consistently go with that, but it did remind me of that. But at the same time, I don't think I ever went to school with anyone who was that like bad at taking feedback as he was. Like he would just leave. He wouldn't be in the room. Like
no,
I don't
he
think
would flat out didn't go.
Would just
he didn't go to any of them.
Every film school teacher I've ever had would give you an F. Be like, if you're not gonna do, like the way he was behaving would have been an automatic F. I don't think I've had a single teacher who wouldn't just be like, I am gonna fail you out of this class unless you stop behaving this way, because that is just completely incomprehensible to me that anyone would think that is acceptable behavior. It's just truly shocking, like how much he did not listen to feedback, and then how angry he was at the idea of ever getting feedback, and how unwilling he was to listen to anyone. And his movie was terrible, and he just made it worse. And then wouldn't listen to anyone.
Now all you can do is watch it and be like, told you so. We told you and told you. You had multiple opportunities to change it.
Right. And it's just sad, though, because it's just like, God, what a waste of everyone's time. Like, there was $850,000, which is a pretty small budget movie, but still, like,
it's
that
could have
been given to a much better director. Like, that could have been given to someone who could have made actual art, and it's just such a shame that money went to him.
Yeah, I mean, and I try really hard. I do in anything I watch or consume, and if it's bad, to try and find something, some glimmer of hope, something. And I think, for me at least, I'm not going to be like, he was MVP, but at least I could tolerate Drew Munson, who played Joel, on the screen most of the time. There were a couple of bits that I was just like, this is unnecessary. I wonder if you were uncomfortable doing this as I am watching you do it. But also, he improvised a lot behind the scenes, and his improvs were actually kind of funny. They made me chuckle a few times. But I'm like, you're trying, you know, you really are trying. And
he did seem like he was slightly more trying than Shane Dawson was.
Well, he seemed like as close to a real person as the movie was going to get.
Yeah, there's definitely some of the actors you're like, you are bringing a somewhat of a humanity to a completely incomprehensibly written character.
He didn't scream all of his lines either. He actually talked and said that they were shit lines, but he actually talked and said them like a human person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh wow,
Shane
that's right.
Dawson did seem to have trouble delivering any lines like a human being.
Because he had all this other fucking shit going on. You see, the other director isn't in the movie. The other director wrote and contributed and directed the thing and contributed in other ways. Never ever star in something that you're directing. It's just
some people probably can pull it off, but like
sure.
I mean, just don't be Shane Dawson. It's the real moral of the story, because he is just dumb. Like he can't make a good movie.
He's a first time director. so you're a first-time director. What you should definitely not do is star in your own movie.
Well, you should be learning also.
Right.
But that was his number one mistake. It's like, take this as a learning opportunity and assume that everyone you're working with knows better than you do. So learn from them.
Absolutely.
And like, you can put your foot down when you know someone's being ridiculous, but it's like the person you'd have to put your foot down against would be someone like Shane Dawson. Like, it wouldn't, like, that's the kind of person you have to be like, tone it down. Like, I don't, like, you're not being helpful. What you're doing is ridiculous. Like, come on. Like, he would be the only kind of person that you could just fully shut down, and everyone else was being totally reasonable, and he should have been learning from them. And it just, like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know if I think all people are redeemable in the world. I still try to figure that out.
It's hard. It's really hard.
It's something I go back and forth on. He's someone who's definitely in the category of, if I go back and forth on how redeemable human beings are, he's in the category of like people where I'm like, oh, maybe not.
Right. Because I mean, I haven't, I'm not a Shane Dawson super fan. I don't follow him religiously. I might still be subscribed to his YouTube channel. I don't know. But I really started watching when, with all the documentaries and things that he was, I'm sorry, in air quotes, documentaries, that he was putting out, especially the one about Jake Paul and the other one about Jeffree Star. And I haven't watched the one about Jeffree Star because I could give a shit about Jeffree Star. But
it's like a snake eating its own tail.
Real hot take. Right. But I thought I decided to watch the one about Jake Paul, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the point of the whole thing was.
What? Because I haven't seen it. And
so
it was
the
just
whole
briefly
concept,
mentioned and things, yeah.
Right. So the whole concept of the documentary is to prove that Jake Paul is a psychopath.
Okay, he's like another YouTuber, right?
Yes, he's the crazy one who does all the weird shit.
Suicide Force one?
No, that's his brother.
Okay, but I was close, right?
Yeah, very close. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
He's the Disney Channel star turned quick get rich quick scheme YouTuber. They all live in this like house or whatever in LA, and they make videos together and junk.
The brothers or also
no, just
other
Jake,
YouTubers?
Jake, and all these other YouTubers apparently.
Oh, weird.
I don't know if that's still a thing. Like I said, I don't know. I do not follow this person.
But the thing
was
to like shame him, like say he's a bad person,
because he's done a lot of really awful things.
Yeah, well, that's fair. But also,
right.
like, it seems like a waste of time to make a whole documentary about it.
Well,
if you're
yeah,
Shane
and
Dawson.
you're not. The documentary never really comes down on either side of, and
weird.
and it's all very, very sensational and overdone, and it's just.
It sounds just bad.
It's not great.
Like, yeah, if you're gonna take down someone, at least have it be takedown.
It's not. I mean, it's not it's not hard hitting investigative journalism.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because you were watching like the video that you sent me. What is his name again?
Oh, D'Angelo Wallace.
Yeah, like that he does. I mean, he doesn't take down Shane Dawson, but it's
but it's a research takedown.
Yeah, exactly. It's research and it is very specific, and he like makes points.
Right, and all of his points have evidence to back his points up. It's a very well constructed video essay.
Demonetized the video, which is kind of cool because it's like a lot of problematic things that he's showing, and I thought it was a really good video. If you want to spend an hour and 13 minutes doing something about Shane Dawson, definitely watch that video.
It's great.
Over the not cool.
Yeah, no, it's probably one of the best ones, honestly.
Yeah, it was pretty. I thought it was very well measured, but also did a very good job at explaining why he's a terrible human being.
Well, and I wonder what his and Molly's relationship is. Has Molly distanced herself from him because they made a fair amount of content together a couple of years ago.
I just feel bad for her, a blind person in LA. Already is hard.
I think she would have the exact opposite thing to say to you, but I don't know.
That she feels bad for me being in the Pacific Northwest where there's buses?
She'd say that you shouldn't feel bad for her because she lives in LA.
Really? What blind person is like, living in LA is the best decision I've ever made?
Well,
I've never met one of those.
Probably living in LA because that's where her career is.
I know, that's like the terrible thing that all blind people who do this kind of career is like, like it keeps us up at night. Like it's a terrible thing that you have to live in LA, but like all the blind people I've ever known who lived in LA are miserable, and the only ones who are not miserable got to the Pacific Northwest. Like, they moved here. Like, they didn't stay in LA. Like, you can't be a happy person in LA if you're blind.
I mean, these are all really great questions to ask Molly.
I know.
Honestly.
I just feel, I mean, I don't feel bad for her because she's blind. I feel bad for her.
Right,
She
of
lives
course.
in LA.
Sure. Right. And I didn't mean it like that, but I'm like, I honestly don't think she, you know, I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't speak for her, so I don't know.
I recognize the deep sadness of, like, just from the video. I just wanted to give her a hug because I'm like, you're a blind person who lives in LA, and I've been there, and it's horrible. And like, there are better ways to do this. I mean, if you're gonna be a YouTuber, you can do that from anywhere.
Sure.
Why be miserable and like be around terrible people like Shane Dawson? I mean. He's just such a dick to her, and like, it just made me sad. Like, I've definitely there have been times where in my life where I'm like, well, I guess this is like my options for friends, and I don't know, I guess a little bit, especially in LA, you wind up being very bonded to people because you don't have a lot of options of like getting around or, you know, having a really independent life. So you kind of, I don't know, you wind up having very close friends because you can't have like a lot of friends, if that makes sense. But yeah, but and then there's also a lot of like very kind of vapid, you know, not very surface level interactions you have with people just because of like the weird passive aggressive culture in LA. It's just very made for that. But it just, I don't know, it makes me really sad. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that, like, all blind people, she kicks ass. So,
sure, absolutely.
You know,
Hell yeah.
I just don't. It just makes me sad, blind people in LA, because I've been there.
I think I see it differently because I come from a fairly tiny city in the middle of the wilderness, and it's just
kind of terrible.
It's just not made for disabled people, and I lived there for 10 years.
Yeah,
I come from a state that's not made for disabled people.
Do you feel sad when you hear blind people in Alaska?
No.
Oh, really?
I feel sad because it's harder for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So I feel sad because it's harder for them, but no, I don't feel sad. I'm not like, oh my God, leave. You know, if that's where you want to be and you're disabled, you have every goddamn right to live there.
Did you ever met someone who decided this is where they wanted to be for no other reason than they just loved it? Who was blind?
I mean, all the blind disabled folks I met were born in Alaska. So yeah. We kind of sort of we're there.
Right.
But a lot, a few of them, I'm pretty sure, have left the state for other opportunities.
Yes, that is the same
but
in LA.
Not all of them. So.
Yeah, I guess I just knew people who stayed in LA who were just miserable. And it's just like...
Sure.
And like people who would struggle with like, do I go back for family? Mm-hmm. Like, but it's just so miserable to be there, or even like for a career or something. And it's just... It hurts because it's just like there are things in LA, and I empathize with both of that. I want to make films. I have my family's in LA, like, you know, in Southern California, so I really empathize with that. And it's just being there is terrible and sad and hard, and then like not having as much access to it can be really hard as well when you are in positions like I am. And so I guess it's just something I think about most days of my life, kind of. And so I do also, I think for me, I have had to make the choice to live here, but I think in LA I was just like, there's just a you just resign to
but
it.
I suppose, but she made the choice. She moved from Canada to the US, and the place that she moved to was LA.
I know, that's
so
why it
she
makes
wants
me so
to
sad.
be there.
Yeah,
I guess that's why I'm not sad.
Because LA tells you should move here if you want a career.
Sure,
and
of course.
Fucking is horrible to blind people because it's so unfair. Like, it makes me furious. Like the way that LA is like, you can't have a career unless you live in LA. Also, we're gonna be extremely hostile to blind people on so many levels.
Oh, exactly.
Like, that pisses me off.
I get it. I don't want to live there, but maybe she does. And I can't, and I don't feel sad
to do film
for her.
Stuff. I don't know. It would be interesting to talk to her because I think I'm right. I think we should feel sad for her to have to be in LA. I think that's definitely the correct answer. Somebody lives in LA.
I disagree.
But you never lived in LA. You don't know the summer ring.
You are right. You are correct. I fully acknowledge that. And you've never lived in Fairbanks, Alaska. So
Yeah.
So there.
But I also would never, because I've been to Fairbanks, so I'm like, this would be a terrible place to be a blind person.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah. So, you know, I even was like trying to talk my parents out of moving there. So like, no, you already live in a terrible place. Move to Portland.
worse.
Don't move to Fairbanks. But they so want to move to Fairbanks.
That's
like
fantastic. Oh my God. I love it.
Anyway, yeah.
I think we did it.
Yeah.
I think
we should rate the movie. We've
we
gone
should
way off
should
track.
rate the movie. Well, you know.
We were talking about an actual blind person.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Can I give it a negative score?
You can try. Yeah. I think we like tried to do that once, and then our brains exploded on trying to figure out what that even means.
Fantastic. I'm just gonna give it. You know, in our rating spectrum, 2020 is like the worst thing you could be, because I was gonna give it a 0, but I was like, no,
you can get under 2020.
Oh, you can. Great. 0 then 0. Yeah.
Or you could get 20 something under 20. So like 2010.
Okay, gotcha. So 2010, fine. I'm gonna give it 2010. Just the low,
You
very,
could go
very
to
low rating.
22 if you wanted.
Just low. Just know that it's low. It's whatever the lowest 20, whatever the lowest number you want it to be. It's low.
Yeah, it's X-ray vision. You can see everything around it and also everything under, like.
Oh my
God.
It's awful. It is awful, just like everybody on the internet said it was going to be awful. And it's awful. And it's just not fun to talk about.
Yeah, no.
It's not a fun world to live in. I don't appreciate this movie's worldview about anything or anyone. And it was an hour and a half of my life that I'm never gonna get back. Yep. And I'm just very happy that I can finally put my morbid curiosity, because that was also something I've always been morbidly curious about this movie, but I can finally put that out to pasture and move on to bigger and better things.
Yes.
I like watching more Molly Burke videos.
Yes. Yeah. I'm glad we can create another thing that is as long as the movie is, that is way better to consume than the movie, because there are things like that out there.
Consume it with the movie.
Don't do
that. Don't really. No, just don't.
Do not give Shane Dawson money, please. Not deserving. There are a lot of videos that take it down. Those are much better to watch. If you have a morbid curiosity, at least watch those. Don't actually watch the movie. We already feel bad enough for giving them to people's money just to do the podcast. But we watch it so you don't have to.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, I was actually also going to give it a 2010. But I guess we could also, another rating we could give it is not cool. It is not cool.
There you go. Fantastic.
That's what it is. Through and through. I mean, yeah, the disability stuff is pretty offensive. This movie, like, really does try to, like, be offensive towards disabled people.
Yeah, disabled people, like, everybody.
They use the R word multiple times.
I forgot. Oh my God. Yes.
And I'm like, this is 2014. We know not to use the R word.
Please. Well, and then to get around it, they start saying they say an abbreviated version of it, and I'm like, it's worse.
Yeah,
it doesn't make you sound cool. It's
no
worse.
one ever said that when people did say the word. And so now it's like you're trying to bring it back and, like, you know, like, make more versions of the R. Ugh,
right. No, don't do it.
Yeah, don't say the R word. Definitely not.
We know it didn't work because nobody says the abbreviated version of that word anyway. So.
I mean, yeah, and luckily, like, it is now considered very offensive to say the word at all. So that is a better thing about the world now. But also in 2014, everyone knew it was offensive. Not an excuse that it was 2014. We all knew it was offensive.
Oh my God.
And no one said it.
This movie, offensive towards disabled people. There's stalking stuff that happens. There's a whole stalking plot that happens. There's
a girl in a wheelchair also who's, like, chugging beer, and I don't understand what the joke is.
She tries to clap back at Heather, and Heather says, "Shut up, Megatron," or "Fuck off, Megatron," or something. I don't fucking know. But Megatron. So, like, it's not only is it a lazy joke, it's something that's unnecessary and didn't need to be there.
Right.
I mean, use her name. Like, tell her to fuck off. Fuck off, Ashley or Julie or Becky, or give her a name. You know, why do we have to immediately insult her by insulting her disability.
Yeah, it's just like punching down in the most.
Yes.
This movie does punch down as many things as it can think to punch down at, but it tries to like really cover ableism in a way that most movies are just like have some dumb blind character. But this is like, no, we're gonna see how many things we can punch down. We have a character that's supposed to be, I guess, schizophrenic, who's like the aunt and who's like say all these really
Right.
offensive things about mental. Like the character is just offensive.
Yes.
Not that she's saying offensive.
Right.
I mean, it is offensive.
The portrayal
character.
of the character is offensive. Yes.
Yeah, and the writing is offensive too.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just it really tries to hit as many like offensive things with ableism, but then it also has a bunch of racist stuff in it that's just kind of very casually, done, and it's very misogynistic and like weird rape joke, like, and I don't know, that's like, I think there's definitely more, but I don't. There's some homophobic stuff that doesn't really that's just random and out of the blue that I don't understand, and like but that even just kind of gets glossed over. Like, yeah, it's weird. Ableism in a way is actually one of the more featured punching down but things in this movie. It really is. Yeah, that's not cool.
It's not cool. Don't watch it.
It's not cool. It's not cool. Do not watch it. Please do not watch it.
This is probably, I mean, for sure it's going on the worst picture list, but we
Yeah.
might have found it already.
Yeah, Dancer in the Dark, I'm still fucking
Oh,
curious
Dancer
about.
in the Dark. That'll be a fun debate.
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely competing for. Well, next week
Yes.
we are doing a movie with a title that we've done before. Some podcasts about blindness in movies. So we're just watching a movie called Blind. It is a Dutch film, and it is from 2007. So there are like 6 movies called Blind. This is the one from 2007 that's a Dutch film.
We'll eventually get to all of them, don't
Yes,
worry.
we will. But I figured we did one last year, so we should do one this year. Just at least once a year, we should get our blind movie. Our blind movie, and makes it sound like a movie with a blind character. That's all the episodes, but a movie called Blind. And yes,
And
so
I am
we'll see.
hoping there'll be an actual movie to talk about.
I hope
next
so
week.
too. It is about a blind man and an albino woman that fall in love. We'll see how this is, or what the vibes.
Sounds lovely.
Yes. So that's next week. What in this last week were you blindsided by, Melissa?
I've been doing a fair amount of stuff, actually. Been exposing myself to a fair amount of pop culture in my life in the
Your
past
life,
week.
yes.
I know we talked about the movie 9 Days last time we were together, and that's not what I'm blindsided by. I mean, it kind of was, but still, I went and saw it on your recommendation, and it single-handedly has restored a lot of my faith in humanity.
Nice. Yeah. I
it's
guess
beautiful.
after this movie, that's important.
God, I needed it. That is one of the reasons why I went and saw it. Was because you recommended it, and I needed to watch something that wasn't this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Please go see it. It's this tiny little movie. It's not on very many screens anymore. It is still playing here in the Portland area, at least at Fox Tower and Living Room Theaters. So
In
please,
2 weeks, it might not be.
it might not. Literally, it might not be. So if you were going to go, please go. It's wonderful. But my actual thing that I've brought is we're getting I was going to say we're getting closer to Rose City Comic Con, but when does this episode actually
2
drop?
weeks.
2 weeks from now?
Yes.
Cool. It's September. And that means I read a lot of comic books because September is Rose City Comic Con month. And I'm
Yes.
super duper excited. I love it so much. So I'm reading my fair share of comic books. And I'm reading, I read a comic called Pantheon by Hamish Steele. Not Hamish, like the Hunger Games. By Hamish Steele. And the comic book cheekily and brilliantly illustrates and tells the great myths of the Egyptian deities.
Ooh.
So this is the Isis and Osiris myth, the creation myth, Horus and Set, and their struggle for balance and power. And it's just done in a really fun, sarcastic, but also really heartfelt way. You could tell that Hamish really cared about the story and wanted to do his darndest to get the source material correct. But you could still be cheeky and have fun and play with it. And I love the illustrations. They're very beautiful, very simple, very flat, very cartoonish because it's Egyptian art that we're dealing with. And they kind of, the book looks little kiddish, childish, but it's totally not, because it is the unfiltered story of these myths, and Egyptian mythology is crazy messed up, but in the best of ways. It's great. I've always loved and enjoyed reading Egyptian mythology. So this book has just been really fun, and it's light, and it's been my constant companion for the past week.
Nice.
And I'm very much enjoying myself. So yeah, the book is Pantheon. It's by Hamish Steele.
Nice. Mine is, I mean, in some ways maybe emotionally similar. This movie made me very sad for the world, so I was like, okay, gotta not feel very beaten down as a human being. This is, I think I've mentioned it recently because we've been rewatching it, but I'm just gonna embrace Steven Universe.
Yes!
Because I saw it, was watching it when it was on, the original show was on. I was a little bit late. I was maybe like a season and a half late to the game, but But Conrad has not seen any of it, and so I was like, for the first 9 months of us dating, I was like, you'll love Steven Universe. Like, the fact that you haven't seen it is ridiculous because you will love it. And he's like, okay, well, let's watch this instead. Whatever, putting it off, and then we start watching it, and he's like, I love Steven.
Oh my god,
so
yes.
great!
Oh, I'm so excited.
I know you would love it. So it is. I mean, I think probably many people have already gotten on the Steven train.
Well, but okay, here's my question to you though, because we've talked about it. Have you finished it yet? Have you watched the
Future?
Have you watched the movie? Have you watched Future?
I've watched the movie, but I'm gonna watch Future when we get to it with Conrad.
Okay, no, good. I'm just happy that you're finally gonna finish it. Future is so good, and I sobbed through most of it.
Well, I'm just doing the original series so that if I really love Future, I could also do that later on and not be repeating myself.
Did you? Okay, so original series.
Yeah.
The movie's so good though.
I did see the movie, but I really, yeah. I mean, there's so much to love about Steven Universe. Obviously, a queer show that is for kids.
That is queer,
and it is very queer, and fuck you Disney, it's not that hard.
Yes.
It is just, I mean, it is really the most faith in humanity show ever, also because it is truly it does make you feel maybe even more have faith in humanity than humanity deserves. The show it's very sweet, but also just really great world building, and the way that the show kind of deals with serious issues of things like consent and
different types of relationships,
and domestic violence and all this, but it also chosen family,
right?
And stuff.
How to be empathetic, how to solve your problems with empathy, I think is what I love most about the show.
Main,
there's action, there's fighting, because of course there is, but mainly, and this is something that people kind of rake the show over the coals about, mainly the fights are solved, the battles are solved with talking and being empathetic to another person's
as
plight.
A suicide hotline call answerer. I'm like, yes, this is the work I do. It's just talking, you don't need anything fancier than that. But I do love how the show still, it does that, and it also paints genuinely people who are genuinely problematic as well. The fact that it doesn't shy away from the real stuff too, but then nothing feels unearned. It's just a kid's show, so this person's being terrible, and then all of a sudden they're just not. You have to, characters are really built, and there's never a moment where you're like, well, okay, but in real world, this character who's terrible would never just turn a corner like that, you know what I mean, which is something I'm very sensitive to, and so the fact that the show does not do that yet is so empathetic and kind, and also has so many things that are real terrible things happen to characters, it's truly a feat. And just it is that, and BoJack Horseman are the two shows that I think are probably definitely the best of this century so far.
You should also check out BoJack and Steven remind me of Tuca and Birdie, and I know I've talked about it before. If you haven't watched
I've seen Tuca and Birdie.
Okay, you've seen, okay. But if you haven't seen The Owl House, the first season at least, because the second season is in progress, it's great, and it's queer.
Nice.
And it's magical and fun, and finding the characters to be so wonderful and endearing and three-dimensional, and I think you'd really like it.
Okay, awesome. Well, I will have to look into that as well. But yeah, so this is a good. I like how we end it with things that are not. I think give us
go
some
watch
faith in
watch
humanity.
all of those things.
Yes.
Go read comics. Go do
Yes. And come back for the podcast next week. We're gonna do another movie called Blind. This one from 2007. Very exciting. Our theme song is by Lucia Fasano. Our YouTube is Citizen White Cane Podcast. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. Both our Facebook and our Instagram are Citizen White Cane. If you'd like to send us an email, our email is citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voice message, there's a link in the show notes.
Who's your favorite blind social media person? Because Lord knows I should be following more blind folks on social media.
Yeah, and are you a blind person in LA who's like, this is the best thing ever, I love my life,
Yeah,
everything's great?
We want to know.
Yeah, please tell us.
Please put this debate to bed. Please, please.
And if that's true, please, God, tell everyone your secrets, because there's a bunch of blind people who probably want to know about how the hell you do that. So, that's priceless information to us. What movie should we do next? What year was a film called Blind made that is the best film called Blind? Tell us the year, because we won't be able to figure it out if you don't tell us the year, because they're all called Blind. Any of those, there's a link in the show notes. Come back next week, and we'll see if Alec Baldwin's in this one as well.
God, I'm going to guess no.
I think not, but we'll find out. Bye.
Bye.
Citizen White Cane.
I know you said 6 feet, but I think you're like 5'11".
Whoa. Drag.
I'm guessing it's gonna be a lot of t-shirts. Okay, this shirt's a problem. I'm blind and I'll tell you not to wear that. Okay, what is this? This feels like... Why is there a hanger with clothes inside a bin?
Oh, I love that one.
It's very old. You need to get rid of it. So he went to school for 2 years. I call him my like Tesla, to your Toyota, or like he's like my Chanel to your Target, because he's like a $40,000 dog to your pet store animal.
You really thought my car was Chris?
Your car was homey, It was
Don't give him that face. That's very normal. It's very normal.
Yes.